Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then
the assassin and George Atkinson did well enough to reach the top of the football world in 1976.
number one world champs. World champs. Delonte.
Welcome in. He's done it again. He infiltrated our intro, but we have not heard from George recently. We hope he's okay. We hope he joins the show. Until then, this is just Chiefs and Raiders, folks. Let's go.
Well, it's a 10-1 Kansas City Chiefs. So welcome into it. You're coming off of a win over the Carolina Panthers, a team that Shane Williams, our very own Shane Williams, had as a playoff team in 2024. So Shane, for you, this had to be a big win.
That prediction fell off at the beginning of October when I saw Bryce Young was struggling, when I saw Bryce Young look like he might be a bust, when I saw Bryce Young get benched for veteran Andy Dalton. But hey, he won 2 straight games against the Giants and the Saints, 2 teams on the decline, and he was able to show some of what Carolina Panthers wanted when they drafted him number 1 overall. So I was pleasantly surprised, but more annoyed. What do you think, Lance?
I had a problem hearing that question. What was the question there, guys?
The Panthers game, your thoughts on the glorious victory?
Well, how about we start right here where we need to begin, guys, because I think we all came into this game expecting the Chiefs to, not play their best game possible, because we knew that was just not possible, because all season long we have yet to see a Chiefs A game as a total team. We've seen A games from their defense, and we've seen close to an A game from their offense. And you can even make a case that this was as close to an A game as their offense has had all season. This is only their second game they've scored 30 points, which was exactly 30 points in this game. But I think that we also knew that even with a B game coming into this one, that they were going to have a matchup that was very favorable to them. And wouldn't you know it, guys? We're coming to this one. I think we were all sitting here wanting, just begging and pleading for a stress-free Sunday, because the Chiefs, quite frankly, owed us that. They put us through hell with the Bills game. They put us through hell in some of these very close victories and the block-off win against the Broncos. And here we were looking at a team against the Panthers, and the Chiefs are 10, 11-point favorites, and they're up 20-6, if I'm not mistaken, at one point in this game. And with 1:46 left in the game, it's tied 27-27, and we're right back to where we've been seemingly every damn week this season. And yes, I was confident that Patrick Mahomes was going to put the team on his shoulders, because that's what he was doing all game long, and he was going to win this game. But leaving that game, I felt just like I should have, guys. Pretty disgusted, and I'm feeling a little dissatisfied from this team, because even though we know the three-peat is the ultimate goal, and I think all of us believe here the team's going to get there, this team has really stressed us out for the second straight season. And I feel even better about that dissatisfaction feeling, because of the fact that, according to reports and according to the videos we've seen out of that locker room after that game, the team felt the same damn way. So much so that Andy Reid, who's about as good of a player's coach as there is, had to sit there and uplift his team for about 5 solid minutes because the guys were so distraught and so upset. It's almost as if they had lost the game because they knew they were so much better than the team they played, yet that team put them on the ropes multiple times and sacked Patrick Mahomes 5 times, the most of any game this season. And if we're going to be honest here, guys, the Panthers had one of their best games of the season. So much so that if you look right here, versus the Chiefs, the Panthers had their second highest scoring game, third most total yards, most red zone trips, third most first downs, third most third down conversions, most fourth down conversions, most sacks, fourth highest time of possession, and first loss under 10 points. So in other words, the Chiefs gave them one hell of a game. They let them hang around, they played with their food, and they came out with a W. And I know everyone's saying that's all that matters, but guys, this team's got real problems, and I think we have to start with the defense here, Noah, Clint, and Shane, because the defense over the last 5 games has had some real damn problems. And I tweeted this out the other day, guys. The Chiefs defense over the last 5 games have allowed their opponents to convert on 32 of their last 65 third down attempts. That's 49%. In other words, that's the same percentage as, ironically, the Panthers, who are the worst third down defense in the NFL this season. There's something going on with this defense, guys. The defense that this team's been able to rely on for the better part of 2 years now. And now the offense has got to step up. The pressure's now back on the offense to do their job. And we know that a lot of pieces, a lot of resources are going to start coming back with Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, D-Hop and Juju getting integrated back into the offense. We know there's some good things happening on the offensive side. Well, it better work out, especially with the upgrade at left tackle. There's a lot of good things going on the offensive side. They're going to need it because this defense is having a lot of problems. I hope they can fix it. I think we all have faith in Spags. But this game showed us, guys, this is not a one-off. The Buccaneers game wasn't a one-off. The Bills game wasn't a one-off. The Broncos game wasn't a one-off. This is now a trend, and it is something we have to pay close attention to. We have to look for solutions.
Absolutely, and that kind of tips me into this. Go ahead, Shane.
I'm going to say, first off, I want to address follower here. It's great to see Double I R3. It's great to see you missing the weekly shows. I want to let you know I've been on Starcade. Go to Starcade's YouTube after the Chiefs game, and I got a post-game show with Harvey Williams. It's been on Starcade. So please, thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate the kind words. Go to Starcade immediately after the game on YouTube, and you'll see my post-game with Harvey Williams. We've had Kimball Anders on and Todd McNair and other former Chiefs players. But specifically, it's been a cold November rain. It's been a cold month in November for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it started on a cold November rain Monday, November 3rd, or was it 4th? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Kansas City Chiefs, freaks worldwide of all ages. We started the month of November, and we ended October, and we sat here and we said, nobody's going to score more than 16 points on this defense. There's just no way, because the defense is our identity. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers came here on a cold November rain, November 3rd, with 2 wide receivers that are out, and they went down the field, length of the field, tied the game. Could have went for 2, but they didn't. The very next week, yes, the Chiefs held Denver to only 14 points, but with the game on the line, 3 straight third down completions, Trent McDuffie getting burned. The Broncos set up shop at the 15-yard line, but Leo Chenal saved the game. Leo Chenal put the freaking Band-Aid over the freaking wound by blocking that field goal. Defense did not make the stop. Leo Chenal did. The very next week, okay, the defense, there's 5 minutes left in this game. Don't let them go down the field and score. They went right down the field, so they could hold the field goal. Nope. They ran it in and scored. What happened last week? The Chiefs are up by 8 against the Panthers. Are you freaking serious? 8 points, and you let them drive the length of the field to score? That is unacceptable. And get the 2-point conversion. Yes, Patrick Mahomes saved the day being Patrick Mahomes, but at the end of the day, this trend, it is a trend. And we still got one more game of November football to play Friday. Hopefully in December, the defense will take a step up, because there is a problem with the Chiefs defense in the month of November that is not trending well.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that 2-point conversion, so I'm going to go to that. Teddy Bruschi says Chris Jones got run through on the goal line. That was one of the most surprising things he saw. 1-on-1, and Hubbard ran right through him, and that should never happen. Those things got to be fixed for Kansas City. And then we'll see the play here. Chris Jones, good job winning versus that left guard there. But you see him, he's right there. Attack Hubbard. Instead, he lets Hubbard get first contact and drags him into the end zone. and we'll see it one more time because I'm not sure what Chris Jones is doing just standing here. I'm sure he's waiting to see what kind of move, but you just got to attack right there. Does a good job winning the rep one-on-one, but then getting carried into the end zone. That's not what you're paying him the big bucks for. So then we got another defensive snap here for the Chiefs. George Karlaftis gets illegal hands to the face from the offensive lineman, and his helmet comes flying off. Chris Jones gets held here. Otherwise, Bryce Young would have been sacked. That allows him enough time to throw Thielen, who cooks Trent McDuffie. Justin Reed there to break it up, but there was a flag. See the helmet fly off there. George Karlaftis right here at the end grabs Chris Jones's arm, which spins him around, allowing Bryce Young to get free and throw to an open Adam Thielen because McDuffie's trailing for whatever reason there. But on the positive side of things, the offense, if I can pull it up here, this was the touchdown to Noah Gray. You see kind of Mahomes go over here, changes Noah Gray's route to a post route, alerts that it's going to be cover zero. They're bringing the house. And if you watch Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, and Wanya Morris, it'll play again. They each kind of have their hands on two guys because they're this cover zero. They're bringing the house. And Wanya helps a little too much on Tooney, and Mahomes just gets it off to Noah Gray there. Great play by Mahomes, changing the route of Noah Gray, alerting that it's cover zero, getting the ball off before Wanya Morris fails, which he's kind of used to now. Hopefully DJ Humphries can change that. But Justin Reed posted this after the game, and that's exactly what it felt like. I know people like to post this after Chiefs games when, Bills fans want to post this, or whoever we're playing, just Chiefs don't get any flags. We get all the flags. They get all the calls. Not in this game. Panthers got all the calls and then some, and that helped them stay in the game. But like you guys said, this defense and Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie specifically need to figure things out.
No, let me say something real quick about that with the Justin Reed thing, because there's a highlight in that game where Justin Reed made a perfect hit in the back of the end zone and got flagged for it. I understand Justin Reed's frustration. He has every right to be pissed off at these refs because they were terrible. They were absolutely awful. I think I've always said in a joking manner, but in a serious manner at the same time, people were right when they said the Chiefs get all the calls. It's just the wrong way of looking at it. They literally get all the calls against them. Like, these are the kind of things that happen to them all the time. I can't tell you guys how many games over the last several years the Chiefs have had more penalties than the other team. That's what cracks me up when Bills fans were talking about that going into this matchup a couple weeks ago, when the last 4 years the Chiefs had more penalties against them than the Bills did. So I don't know where this narrative came from, because the Chiefs happen to, capitalize on a couple of favorable calls here and there, but that is literally every single week from every single game. And we saw this Justin Reed horrendous penalty that was put against him that helped the Panthers score on that drive. But here's the biggest thing we have to realize, and I don't want to reiterate the point here because there's a lot of positives to talk about in the offense, and it's about Noah Gray that I want to talk about. But on the defensive side, they are allowing teams to bully them around. And look, I don't think it's a skill problem, because the majority of this defense is the same defense that was shutting people down for the first 6 to 8 weeks. This is the same defense. Yes, Jalen Watson was a valued commodity, but he isn't the end-all, be-all of this defense. How do I know that? Because for the first 2 months of this season, they didn't have L'Jarius Sneed, and they didn't miss a beat. And they were facing the best of the best offenses in the NFL. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this team has to be dealing with something mental. There has to be this lull in them now that they have a loss and they're just trying to get to the postseason. It's literally feels like they just don't have the energy. And so it felt in the Bills game. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. It felt like that a lot in the Bills game, and it felt a lot like this in this game, where they just felt like, okay, let's just get through this damn season and let's get to the games we actually care about. I'm not saying I like that. I'm not saying I agree with that mentality. I'm saying that's the way it looks. That's the way it feels. Because Chris Jones doesn't get bodied like that by anybody, guys, especially a one-on-one. And like you said, letting the content create itself, he's the one that makes those content. That is not like Chris Jones at all. I don't want people questioning his contract and whether he's still hungry for the game or not. I will never question that man's drive. What I think is happening, though, is it's a long season. And I think this team is just ready to get to the games that matter the most. And I think that's why you're seeing this defense kind of have some lulls in the way they're playing and look a little lackluster and letting teams like the Panthers, who had 25 red zone trips going into that game, have 6 in this game alone. That's a real problem. I think it's fixable. I think we all trust in Spags. I think we all believe he's going to get it right. But I think right now we're in the frustrating moments of it. The positive side of it is what you showed with Noah Gray. The fact that him and Patrick Mahomes are finally connecting in a different way, whether it's because they're out of necessity or they're just finding the rhythm. I think that Noah Gray is showing Patrick Mahomes that he can trust him. I mean, this is a guy that catches 79% of the balls that come his way. That's better than Travis Kelce. That's better than any other guy on this team. So he is a reliable asset when given an opportunity. He's just getting more of those opportunities now in the red zone, and he is showing that he can be that guy. And this is a great thing because, as Mitch Holthus said in the postgame, this now creates a problem for defenses coming down the pike where they have to now game plan for Noah Gray. It isn't just D-Hop. It isn't just Travis Kelce. It isn't just Hollywood Brown when he comes back. It isn't just Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Now there's another guy they have to worry about, a legitimate receiving threat, a guy that can score touchdowns for this team, who's 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds, and can run like a gazelle. That is Noah Gray. So this is something this offense is unlocking and taking the pressure off the run game, because right now it's all Kareem and nobody else, and they're going to have to ease Isaiah Pacheco back into this offense. It's going to take weeks for him to get his legs underneath them. So with that considered, you're going to need the pass game to start being more fluid, and if Noah Gray continues to play somewhere close to this, guys, all of a sudden this offense is back in a very real way, and that should excite everybody, but the ones that it should excite the most is the defense, because it's going to take a lot of pressure off them to where they're not going to have to play perfect football in order for the Chiefs to win postseason games like they did last year. This offense can actually lead the way and outscore some opponents, because this time around, it's not going to be on the road where the defense is going to have to play perfect. It can be the offense at home games that puts up 34, 35 points and lets the defense pin their ears back and go after that quarterback, if in fact they can do it.
Absolutely. And Clint, I want to get your thoughts, not just on this past game, but kind of this month that we've talked about, this November lull, if you will, because I think that is something that this team just, okay, let's get to the postseason. There was a rep, I don't have it in the film, but of Chris Jones against the Panthers. Charles Davis was mentioning it, how Chris Jones looked gassed, and he just stood up, and that's all he did. I know you can't go full bore every single play, but he stood up, and that was the end of his time on that play. So I don't know if he should have come off the field there, but what are your thoughts on this November lull we've seen?
Yeah, well, I think Chris kind of alluded to it today when he talked to the media. He talked about, the fact that this team, that they have accountability towards each other and that a win's a win, but he knows that he's a part of what Andy Reid was alluding to when it comes to the team kind of hanging their heads, that they were gassed. We've seen it in a lot of games. This team, guys, plays a lot of football games, a lot more than, say, any other team in the NFL over the last 7 years. So when this happens and they're making deep playoff runs and they're playing deep into seasons and the season's longer, it's another game. You're seeing the ramifications of it. You're also seeing the ramifications of what happens when you're starting to give up third downs at an alarming rate, right? So drives are lasting. They're getting into the red zone and they're scoring. And that is kind of why you're seeing this. And for Chris Jones, a defensive tackle who we saw had to come off the field in the Super Bowl in key situations. Chris is 30. Hey, I'm 40. I get it, buddy. But Chris is someone he is the Patrick Mahomes of this defense. We do rely on him. We rely on him to be the QB of that defense. And there's some discombobulation going on right now. A lot of people I talk to say, you know what? Let's just get to the playoffs. These are fans I'm talking about. So I think for the players, it's become some monotony. I think you're fighting that every week if you're the coaching staff and you're just trying to get through this. And I'm going to tell you guys one thing. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't agree with Lance on this. Maybe he's changed his mind over the last week. The Chiefs are going to have to be 15-2 to be the 1 seed. That's just it. 15-2. And it might have to be 16-1 to be the 1 seed. And there's some problems brewing when you start breaking down what might happen. Do you guys really like the idea of a 3-peat route that includes hosting the Broncos, hosting the Ravens or Steelers, and going to the Bills to get to fit Super Bowl 59? Does that sound like fun to anybody? Because that's what is on the cusp of happening. Should you drop? Certainly, I can't imagine it being Friday, but you got the Texans coming up, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Broncos. I mean, there's some trouble ahead.
I don't disagree with you at all when it comes to that, Clint. I do agree the Chiefs have to take care of business. They have to. This is why I said that Bills game had to be big for the Chiefs as well. Even though they
Right.
still controlled their own destiny technically, they don't need the Bills to lose another game in order for them to win the one seed. What I'm saying is, I agree with that, but at the same time, I look and maybe this is just me being a fan of or a person that believes the other shoe is eventually going to drop on this Bills team, who has suffered a lot of injuries, a team that I think has a lot of imperfections. I think they're going to stub their toe down this stretch as well because of the fact that you have I'm not saying San Francisco is going to beat them. In fact, I'm going to probably pick the Bills in that game. It's in Buffalo. The Niners are all banged up. But then they go to the Rams, a team desperate for a playoff spot. Then they go to Detroit, who we all know is an absolute juggernaut. Then they play 3 straight divisional games against the Patriots and Jets to end the season. Now, you can say, oh, they're going to roll those games, but we thought that throughout the last few years when the Bills had better rosters and the Jets and Patriots were even worse, and those teams were able to get at least a victory here and there. So
Last game against the Jets, Bills, it was 23-20. So
exactly. So, I'm looking at these teams. I'm thinking they want to play spoiler against the divisional foe that they know is rolling right now. The Lions are a team that are simply unbeatable at home. And again, the Rams, desperate team across the country. I think I legitimately believe the Bills are going to lose 2 games down the stretch, and it's going to give the Chiefs that comfort. But I'm with you, Clint. The Chiefs do need to take care of business as if the Bills are going to run the table. I'm with you 100% on that, man.
What Morgan says here is huge. Chris hasn't had a sack in 3 weeks.
7 weeks.
7 weeks. What am I saying? I got to read.
I wish it was 3.
7 weeks. I mean, come on. The sacks are down. What I was going to say is last year when the Chiefs were dropping passes, and we were going through that lull in November offensively, our defense was still on the rise. Our defense was keeping us in those games that those receivers were all dropping the balls. But now with this breakdown in the nobody's getting sacks, we can blame Najee Johnson, and we will. But when he's your leading tackler, you know what's going on. Opposing offenses are picking on Najee Johnson. That's why was the leading tackler last week against Carolina. And why is he the leading tackler? Is because the defense isn't getting the sacks. Mike Dana had 1 sack Sunday. So where are you, Karloftis? Where are you, Chris Jones?
It's complementary football. It works together. If people are getting open so fast because Najee Johnson stinks, then the defensive line doesn't have time to get there. But if there is the defensive line, I don't think is getting pressure quick enough. Hopefully that changes with Uche getting more involved. Hopefully, we haven't seen it yet, but hopefully he can start getting more involved, at least on known passing downs. Charles Omenihu coming back. Hopefully that can provide something on the defensive line that they can get home more. We've heard that Spagnuolo wanted a corner at the trade deadline. They tried to make it work for Marshawn Lattimore. It didn't. Washington gave up too much. It was too rich for our blood. So there's some things going there that they don't totally believe in Najee to be that guy right this second. Maybe they believe in his development. Obviously, we've seen that Joshua Williams was quasi the number 2 corner in preseason, and then he slowly fell all the way down to number 4 behind Jalen Watson, behind Najee Johnson. So it's tough, guys, because you look here on the offensive side of things, and this is the most Mahomes has been sacked through 11 games. And then Lance kind of read off some of this. Just the Panthers had a field day. I mean, they're setting records out there in Panthers history out here. 91 penalty yards against the Chiefs. Bryce Young, his second most passing yards in his career, sacked 5 times, the most in the Mahomes era, the most for the Panthers this season, obviously, because I think they had 12 overall going into that game and almost got half of that in one game. So
I want to respond to that about the Chris Jones issue, because it's obviously true that Chris Jones needs to be more productive, but I'll defend Chris in this regard. First of all, we all know he plays a position that's already there's so much against him to get to the quarterback as it is. Most defensive tackles are there to stop the run or to create a wall, whatever it is. Chris Jones is a special commodity, a guy that's been able, I think he's 3rd or 4th in sacks since 2018. To be that guy at that position is just insane. So he's set his own standard, so we expect him to get 12 to 15 sacks a year because that's his standard. But the reason, I don't think it's any coincidence, and maybe you guys will disagree, but I don't think there's any coincidence that Chris Jones's numbers are so down this year. Subsequently, at the same time, with George Karloftis having a down year, Mike Dana been hurt and he's having a down year. FAU's not developed. Charles Omenihu, who still hasn't played a snap of football. Uche's not getting true snaps yet to this point. I mean, there's really been no other pass rush that the Chiefs have been able to generate outside of some exotic blitzes that's given Chris Jones anything yet. Chris Jones is leading all players in his position in the NFL in pressures. If I'm not mistaken, he had 6 pressures in this game against the Panthers. So he's getting in the area, but he doesn't have anybody else that's around him. So I think he's getting worn out. I think he's getting frustrated. And I'm not making excuses, guys, because I do agree he could play better. We saw the effort on display with Noah's breakdowns. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the numbers are down because of what isn't around him as opposed to what's inside of him, if that makes sense, guys. And so I'm going to give Chris a little bit of a pass because I think when things get better, and I do believe it's going to get better, I do believe the addition of Charles Lemon, who down the stretch is going to help, and I do believe Uche is going to become more of a guy in this defense, and I have to believe that Karlaftis is going to play better football than what he's done to this point. He's just missing it by a smidge. I think he's going to correct that. I think that's when you see the best of Chris Jones really start to shine, guys, and really become that guy that we all know. But I have a theory real quick, and I want to hear from you guys what you think on this. I think the way to solve the cornerback issue, because everybody keeps talking about that, what are they going to do with the cornerback position? I agree with Noah. It's a give and take. But the best way I think they can do this, it's simple. I know that sounds nuts to say it's simple, but it is. Jaden Hicks has emerged as a legitimate player in the safety position, correct? He's starting to really play true. He's playing true minute. He's playing true snaps now. I think Spags has developed some trust with this kid. I think what needs to happen is they need to move Shamari Connor full-time to cornerback because he is a big physical guy that is versatile as hell and can play that outside position and get with those wide receivers. Because right now, these wide receivers are running all over the field, streaking on third downs. I think if they put him on a true guy, on a wide receiver and said, lock this dude down, I think Shamari could do it because Shamari is that good in my opinion. What say you guys? Because that to me is a legitimate solution.
He did have a pass interference call in the back of the end zone, but that's going to happen. And he was in good coverage. He wasn't getting beat on it. He just didn't get his head around. So I think that's something that they could toy with. I don't think there's a great answer. That might be slightly better than Nazi. And that's kind of what we're going for. Like Wanye slightly better than Kingsley right now. Hopefully DJ Humphries is much better than that. But yeah, if we can even get slightly better at the corner position, I'm for that. But one thing you said, Lance, Chris Jones, you said had 6 pressures. If that's true, then I heard that we got 7 pressures out of 32 dropbacks on Bryce Young. That means Chris got 6. Somebody else got 1. Congratulations, boys. We're getting home.
It's bad, man. Like I said, it all starts with the third down. It all starts with the third downs, guys. You see it. The Chiefs defense, to their credit, they will make stops on first and second down. But it'll be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12. And every damn time you see some wide receiver just streaking across the field wide open. And all Bryce Young had to do is moonball it and it lands right in his hands. And they get a 15, 20-yard gain. It's so frustrating, man. There's got to be a solution on this team. And this team has been built the way it's been built for a particular purpose and plan. They didn't expect to lose Jalen Watson. But again, guys, I think you would agree with me on this. Jalen Watson is not an end-all, be-all guy. He's a very solid piece. But he is a guy that if he goes down, you can move on as a great defense without him. He's not going to be the guy that breaks this defense. If Chris Jones went down, yeah, we're having a different discussion because that's your centerpiece. If George Karlaftis was to go down, yeah, that screws things up. But when you're losing a guy that is a role player, a good role player, I will give him that, but a guy that I do believe can be replaced, and I think if you tinker some things, and I believe Spags is going to do that, I think that you're going to see this defense get fixed. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying they're going to shut people down, but just give this offense just enough because I do believe this offense is going to start elevating more and more. Patrick Mahomes is going to start playing like an MVP, which, by the way, don't be shocked, guys. Right now, he's plus 1,300 to win MVP. I put some money on it today because I think when the Chiefs go 16-1 or 15-2, and Patrick has 30 touchdowns and they win the 1 seed, just look out for that MVP all of a sudden. I think this offense is going to start taking off, guys.
You know, I'm concerned about the offensive tackles, and I'm sure it's something that we need to talk about. I'm sorry, Clint. I hope you don't cut me off. Hope you don't mute my mic. But Mitchell Schwartz, soft-spoken Mitchell Schwartz, has always he's not looking for hot takes. He calls it like he sees it. And he was saying, by the way, Juwan Taylor, he tweeted during the game, which blew me away. Clint, what? Come on back, Clint. Mitchell Schwartz tweeted during the game that he did not like the way Juwan Taylor was setting up because it's leaving Trey Smith vulnerable. He said it's obvious when they're I don't know if you got the tweet, Noah, but it's obvious.
But I saw it, yeah.
Okay, it's obvious when the Chiefs are passing because the way Juwan Taylor set up that the defensive end or the rush back on that side is able to shoot the gap on Trey Smith's side, leaving Trey Smith vulnerable to get consistently beaten. That is huge because like I said, Mitchell Schwartz, freaking stand-up guy. He's not looking for hot takes. He's not looking for Twitter followers. For him to share that with the world online was interesting. So that's a concern. Jawan Taylor's got to clean that up, and we hope Andy Heck is watching it just as close as Mitchell Schwartz. And of course, the left tackle position, I'm ready for DJ Humphries. Wanya Morris is getting destroyed. So thank God they made a deal for him. Let's see him. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, we should be excited about DJ Humphries. Should be excited, guys, because for the first time all season, the Chiefs have a legitimate left tackle.
Absolutely,
that's
2021 Pro Bowler, and he would have been signed if not for that injury. Well, other than that, but and I just want to get to some of this news quick. Like we said, DJ Humphrey signed, and then Arrowhead Live had a report out there, and everyone was saying fake news until it was reported by the Chiefs this morning, and then not so much fake news. But Spencer Schrader in light workouts on Monday, pulled his hamstring. Peyton Hendershot was put on IR. So Matthew Wright, our good friend and buddy from 2022, is back. I know Clint's excited about that. And
I am.
You to talk about, since we're moving on from that, I don't need to get into kickers. It's just somebody asked, is Matthew Wright kicking for us? And yes, he is. He will be kicking for the foreseeable future till Harrison Bucker gets back or Schrader gets healthy. But obviously, we talked about Amenahu and Pacheco should be back this week. They're full participants in practice. But I also want to talk about a fun little nugget that I found on Instagram today, scrolling around, if it'll let me pull it up, which I don't think it's going to. But Hollywood Brown is back and catching balls on the jug machine there. And we've also got a video that you can talk over, Clint, as your excitement reaches its peak.
My excitement is high for this, to see him working with the jugs machine, to see what Hollywood Brown has been kind of teasing over the last several weeks. Guys, when you think about this season in totality, you think about the injuries this team sustained, and I think Lance has alluded to that it's almost become comical, which it is. But these are injuries that would make a 10-1 team probably be 7-5 right now. And I think we need to start thinking about it in those terms, that the injuries the Chiefs have sustained, this is what that gets the Chargers off the rails every year. Like, well, the injuries, they're only 6-6. They had all the injuries.
As we pay the rap.
There's that. But to get these guys back, Charles Amenahu, we know we just talked about it, the pass rush that needs an injection of life. And of course, Isaiah Pacheco to be able to, and a lot of people don't really agree about this theory about, hey, a 1-2 punch of Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. A lot of people are talking like Kareem Hunt is being used as this workhorse brought back in for a veteran minimum or whatever he makes, being treated like Wendell Brown from Varsity Blues and thrown aside and cast away as someone that is not going to be effective going forward. I say, no way. I say, I want this 1-2 punch. I think Hunt has done exactly and proven exactly what he needs to do to be a part of this offense going forward. It just adds another dimension. It adds more. I am excited to get all these guys back. I know that we may not see all this come to fruition, all these puzzle pieces put together properly until maybe late December, maybe Christmas Day in Pittsburgh when Hollywood Brown emerges wearing all white, Chiefs white on whites, and Christmas Day in a snow game in Pittsburgh. Am I just dreaming? Is it too early to start talking about Christmas wishes?
No, because here's the thing, Clint. This is the most exciting part about the Hollywood Brown situation in particular, is that unlike any other guy like a Pacheco injury or any of these other injuries, Hollywood Brown's injury doesn't involve him staying in shape or, being in football shape, ready to go. He can hit the ground running because we're talking about a shoulder injury. All he's got to work on is making sure his hands are good. He's not going to be rusty when it comes to the athleticism side of things. So we all remember, guys, in training camp and early part of preseason, the chemistry that was built between him and Patrick Mahomes. I believe they're going to pick up right where they left off. I think they're going to pick up right where they left off. And maybe that's just me being excited. Like, I'm with Clint. I share the excitement, brother. Like, I truly believe this guy will be a difference maker in this offense when he's finally here. And it'll probably be close to Christmas, if not Christmas Day. But just the thought of having him right before the postseason, getting him into the offense, getting that rhythm going with D-Hop, Juju, Kelsey, Gray, Hunt, Pacheco, all of a sudden Patrick is picking his teeth and just picking the poison to put on that defense he's facing that week. Then all of a sudden we're looking at an offense that goes from limited to he has expenses. He just has whatever he wants at his pleasure, guys. It's a luxury offense at that point, and we haven't had that in years. Even in 2022 when they led the league in offense, that offense was all because of how great Patrick was, and the scheme was great. They didn't have a ton of great weapons in that offense. Their best receiver was Juju, and I love Juju, but let's be real. He's not a wide receiver one. The Chiefs have multiple guys in this offense that are threatening that position. So I think that this is going to be a perfect time. This is why I haven't given up on this team. Even as frustrated as we've been, we look at what's coming. We see what's coming down the pike. It's literally like the Avengers scene when everyone starts coming out of those portals. That is what this is looking like, guys. And that's what excites the living hell to me. It's like Patrick Mahomes is Captain America. He's looking around, seeing all the reinforcements like, holy hell, here we go, baby. Thanos is screwed. Well, Thanos is the schedule. So that's what they're looking at. And I'm telling you guys right now, when these guys get here and get right, this team's gonna be unstoppable. Like it's pissing us off right now, but it's November football, guys. We all look at this differently now because the standard has been changed in Kansas City. It is now January and February football that we wait for. It's frustrating now, but I'm telling you, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're gonna be having much different discussions on this show. We're gonna be talking about who the Chiefs are facing in their third straight Super Bowl. That's what we're gonna be talking about.
And Shane, I want to give you an option. You can talk about this comment here, this question: which player coming back is a bigger impact, Amenahu or Pacheco? Or you can give your synopsis on Avengers Endgame. The choice is yours.
Choose wisely, though.
I'm going to say Pacheco. We need a spark. Guys, we need a spark on offense. I love the Kareem Hunt story. 6 years ago, next Monday is when he was let go. We love the story. We love the fact they're perfect. Great shot of you guys, man. Great shot. And he's back, and he's the freaking guy that's carrying us. But we need more explosiveness. I got home from work 12 hours yesterday, and I turned on Monday Night Football in the second and third quarter, and I was watching the Chargers and the Ravens go back and forth with amazing quick plays, and I was like, damn, the Chiefs offense has lulled me to sleep this month of November because we're not seeing this. Thank God Patrick Mahomes has willed the Chiefs to win 4 of the 5 games in November so far, because our offense is freaking lethargic, and they're piling so much on Kareem Hunt. I talked to Kimball Anders. I said, Kimball, on Sunday, I'm worried about putting all this ripping the tread off of Kareem Hunt's freaking tires because they're putting so much on his back. He's in his 8th season. When you were in your 9th season, you had 146 yards rushing in week 2 and you blew out your Achilles. Am I being too paranoid? He said, well, you can be paranoid, but it is always a concern. So we need Kareem. We need Pacheco in there spelling Kareem, because like we all know, we love that story. We want Kareem Hunt to have his own Super Bowl ring because he deserves it. But to Lance's point, I'm looking down that tunnel and I'm like, God, please help us get to that freaking, when we do get all these guys back, let us be able to be in control of the number 1 seed, because I don't want anything to happen when we play the Chargers in 12 days. I don't want anything to happen when we play the Browns in 19 days in Cleveland. I want to be able to have those guys and be ready. And if we're playing lethargic or barely moving, go to sleep offense, we're still winning. We got to lock up that seed. We got to lock up that number 1 seed. And I know we got a month and a half of football left, but we got to lock up that number 1 seed. So when we get our freaking toys, we will have plenty to play with.
I mean, can I add to that when it comes to those two? I'm gonna take it to the other side. I think Shane made some incredible points, and I really can't dispute any of that. But we just got to talking about how frustrating this defense has been now for 5 straight weeks, and I think we all could agree that if they just have just one little twitch of a better pass rush, that this team goes to a whole nother level. You guys would agree with that, correct? Because they don't have anything outside of Chris Jones that's even remotely not reliable. And we saw what Amenahu was. Now, maybe Amenahu won't be that guy this time around because it's another ACL tear. Maybe he won't be that guy. Or maybe he will. And if he is, then we're talking about a guy that can alleviate a lot of pressure on Chris Jones, and then Chris Jones is uncaged. And I'm telling you, that's the difference between the Chiefs being a team that can stroll through the playoffs or hope that they can score enough points to beat some teams in the playoffs, because these teams are coming for the Chiefs, man. And I know that they know now, this team can't get to our quarterback. And we know, guys, the majority of Tom Brady's dynasty runs, when he'd win Super Bowls, it's because he had defenses that were making the ultimate difference. He had a kicker that was making clutch kicks. Well, the Chiefs have that. Patrick Mahomes knows that, yeah, having an offense is great. We all love it. It's exciting. But it's having difference makers on the defensive side that will decide Super Bowls. And I think even with the addition of Pacheco, which is a spark that, yes, this offense does need, I do have enough faith that even if Pacheco was out for the season, the Chiefs will be able to manufacture enough out of Kareem Hunt's legs, albeit would be a lot to ask for out of him. But he knew the job coming into this season, what he was asked to do, literally running into the season with no training camp, no real preparation, what is expected of him. And quite frankly, I think Kareem looks at that in an odd way as a challenge accepted, because he knows he missed 6 years with this team, and he's willing to make up for it by taking on the brunt of that brute force, which is known as being a bell cow running back in today's NFL. I think he could survive that. He could be a guy that can withstand the rigors of that while having a difference maker on the defensive side that can alleviate some of that pressure on Chris Jones and, quite frankly, this entire defense as a whole, and give Spags another horse to draw up some beautiful things with.
Yeah, and Clint, I'm going to go to you because I thought maybe Desmond Ridder was going to be the quarterback, but it turns out it's Aiden O'Connell. He got healthy just in time from a broken thumb, as in the Raiders are preparing to start Aiden O'Connell. And the Chiefs playoff berth scenario, they can get a playoff berth if they beat the Raiders and either the Broncos or Dolphins lose their games. And as long as the Chiefs handle business, I think at least the Dolphins will lose.
Well, yeah, this Aiden O'Connell news has got me a little kerfuffle, to be honest with you guys. We all remember Christmas Day 2023. Aiden O'Connell completed 0 passes in the second half to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And guys, Justin Reed talked about it on his appearance on Good Morning Football. And we're talking to Justin Reed. We're trying to get him on for next week, guys. So the spoiler alert, he's we're working on it. But Justin talked about how they owe the Raiders one for this. I guess going to Las Vegas and winning yet again for the 5th straight time isn't enough. They want to beat this team. And this is right now would arguably the worst team in football at 2-9, coming off a Gardner Minshew season-ending collarbone injury. The Raiders haven't been able to get it together all season. Somehow they beat the Ravens in week 2, which, is something the Chiefs can't say couldn't happen to me. But yes, the playoff scenarios are starting to form when you're a good team, when you're 10-1. That's when you start seeing, oh, hey, this could happen and this could happen, and we could have a playoff appearance notched. We know this team's going to be there. The odds keep going down, by the way. Every week, the Chiefs went from 99 to now down to 92.5. So look out there. But, we'll get to our predictions in a little bit. But this Raiders team coming in, man, if it was going to be Desmond Ridder, Noah, you said it. Man, I could see a 10-point win. Aiden O'Connell come in, maybe not so fast. We may be back to Black Friday shopping during the final witching hour. Thank you, Scott Hansen.
Yeah, I mean, if Aiden O'Connell is out there, I do expect a closer game because I think Ridder is going to give it away. Aiden's not going to do anything super impressive, but I don't think he's going to make a ton of mistakes and give it away like I think Desmond Ridder would. But Lance, you mentioned something earlier about how you had Mahomes for maybe MVP. You're at least going to bet on it because it's great odds and he's having a resurgence and we're going to get some offensive weapons back down the stretch. Maybe Isaiah Pacheco this week. So here's what Skip and then Kurt Warner had to say about Mahomes. Skip, obviously a hater. Mahomes just pulled off yet another can't tackle the quarterback run up the sideline to put KC in a position to survive at Carolina. And then on the positive side of things, Kurt Warner, I know Patrick Mahomes may not have the stats we have come to know, or the offense may not be scoring up to expectations, but until you pop on the tape each week and see what exactly he is doing play to play, you have no idea how good this guy really is. He continually makes the play in the moment, whether it shows up as impressive in the stat book or not.
Well, there's a reason why Skip Bayless is unemployed. That's all I'll say about that. When it comes to Kurt Warner, he continues to make sense, and that's why he is employed. But what I'll say when it comes to this MVP discussion, look, I'm not the one that wants to sit here and talk about that because I know there's bigger things and more important things to address when it comes to this team and them winning and getting to a third straight Super Bowl. But in this particular discussion, guys, it's all laid out for Patrick Mahomes. Because even when he was struggling earlier in the earlier portions of the season, we saw him make play after play after play after play on 3rd and 4th downs that won the Chiefs the game. Was it pretty? No, hell no. In fact, it was butt ugly. But he would still find a way to do it. But I have the stats right here to show you guys. Patrick Mahomes this season before the D-Hop trade was completing 68% of his passes, which is still very good, which would be I think highest of his career. But it was averaging only 232 passing yards per game, 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, which is terrible, with with an 82 quarterback rating, completely subpar. But since the D-Hop trade, Patrick Mahomes is completing 72% of his passes, is averaging about 260 passing yards per game, 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions with a 103 quarterback rating. You pace that out for a season, guys, he's getting about 40 touchdowns. That is a season that wins him the MVP. So if I'm looking at the way that they have been giving MVPs out for the last forever, since basically Adrian Peterson got it 12, 13 years ago, the quarterback that leads the 1 seed and has at least decent numbers, Lamar Jackson last year, who had very subpar numbers, won MVP going away, I might add, but they got the 1 seed. They ran away with the 1 seed. That's why he got it. If we're keeping that trend together and we're expecting the Chiefs to do so, Patrick's on pace, guys, to have about 30 touchdowns. All he needs to do is average 2 touchdown passes for the rest of the season, and he will have exactly 30 touchdowns. And you're talking about keeping his interception numbers low, which he's been doing for the better part of 2 months now. You're looking at a guy who has all the makings to be an MVP. I mean, yes, Josh Allen deserves to be in the conversation. I think Saquon Barkley deserves to be in the conversation. I think Lamar Jackson is always going to be in the conversation. But if you're a guy that's going to lead your team to 16-1 or 15-2 with all the injuries, not to mention, on both sides of the ball, and he's had, 5 game-winning drives and game-winning drives this season, which is the most he's already had, with 6 games still to go, I don't know how you don't make the discussion for Patrick Mahomes to do so. So when I saw that he's a plus 1,300, I thought that was disrespectful as hell, even if he isn't the leading candidate. You're putting Patrick Mahomes, who's leading the best team in the NFL right now with the best record in the NFL, as a plus 1,300. I put some money on that, and I'm talking about money, boys. I put some real money on that because I believe Patrick's going to go on a run. He's already on this run. He's already been doing it. As our guy Clay Windler's been showing it. The stats are all showing there. Patrick's on his run. We see when he starts to take that shift into postseason mode. Guys, we're not that far from postseason. Before we know it, we're going to be talking about postseason football, and Patrick knows that. He's got the weapons coming back. He's already built the chemistry with D-Hop. Travis Kelce's just staying healthy, and as we've been talking about, if he just stays healthy and stays and is ready and available for the postseason, we know what that man's going to do in the postseason. We know 8-7 comes alive, and the goat-to-goat connection is going to be there. We know that Noah Gray is proving himself. All of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes is going to do what Patrick Mahomes does, and that's win games at a high-octane level, and I'm excited about it. So, yes, don't give up on his MVP hopes. If you guys want to put some money on it, go to DraftKings right now and do that, because I did that very thing tonight, and I feel really good about that.
And use promo code STARCADE while you do it. Use promo code STARCADE when you go to DraftKings.
Also, that's only for the Lances of the world, because for Shane, Clint, and I on the Missouri side, we are not allowed to be doing anything like that.
Hey, I will say this.
Promo code STARCADE.
Let me say this real quick. Lance freaking nailed it, man. He freaking nailed it. But since we went off on this MVP tangent, if the Bengals somehow get in the 6th or 7th as a wild card seed, somehow we'll cross that bridge next month, then Joe Burrow's stats will get him MVP voting as well. I mean, those are some great stats. 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing, and your team is 4-7? It doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up. But if they're sitting in a playoff seed 6 and 7, then those stats and whatever he does in the playoffs are going to come in the mix when it comes to MVP voting.
Yep, and it is time, everyone's favorite time, especially with a big, tough, physical matchup between the Chiefs and Raiders. It's prediction time. Clint, start us off.
Oh, man, I've watched every Chiefs game here the last 2 years. I'm sure we all have. I've had the fortune/misfortune at times to really just take in all the wonder that the current Chiefs are, because this is an unprecedented era of NFL football. So as Chiefs fans, we don't know how to feel when we're watching these games. We tell our friends at the water cooler, well, it's not very fun, but a win's a win. That's what this podcast should be renamed. A win's a win, and we don't even talk about it. We move on to next week. And that's what you're going to experience on Black Friday. While you're on your laptops trying to make some key purchases for Christmas gifts, you might also glance up and watch the Kansas City Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders play a gentlemanly game of football on the field. It's an old AFL rivalry. We like that. You're not going to have any fun, mind you. So please lap up all your remaining leftovers from your Thanksgiving meal and enjoy your 23-13 Chiefs victory on Black Friday over the Raiders. And the Chiefs get to 11-1 before a real stretch of games kind of begins here, minus the Browns in 2 weeks. But yeah, 23-13 Chiefs, and a win's a win. Patrick Mahomes. That's Patrick Mahomes' quote after the game with the sideline reporter, whoever the hell it is for Amazon.
All right. Well, guys, it's the Chiefs and it's the Raiders. You throw out the records, you throw out everything. It's going to be a fist fight. It's going to be mucky muck. It's going to be one in the trenches. The Chiefs haven't shown me anything like, oh man, they're going to win by 10. I predicted them to win by 11 on Sunday, and they barely won. I think Ominahu and Pacheco will definitely light a spark. I don't know how many snaps DJ Humphries is going to get at left tackle. I'd like all of them, but I think they're going to try to work him in. Who does that mean is going to be active? Is it going to be Kingsley inactive? I mean, that's a whole other argument or debate, but I think it's Chiefs, it's Raiders. It's going to come down to a last-second field goal by our third-string kicker, and I think the Chiefs will win 20-17.
All right, well, I'm going to take the reins here and be the one that is a little more of a contrarian because I feel like I'm the most optimistic one on this show sometimes, and I'm going to stick with it because, listen, I cannot get over the faces I saw in that locker room after that Panthers win. I almost said loss. I saw the way this whole team was acting, how pissed off they were, and you know what? Listen, at some point in this season, damn it, this team is going to prove me right. This team's going to show me that they got what it takes to have a comfortable victory. I'm not giving up on it. I'm not going to do it. And I think if there was ever a perfect time outside of that Panthers game for them to do it, it's after squeaking a victory against a Panthers team they had no business squeaking a victory against. Should have been a blowout then. I am picking a blowout this week. I think with the absence of Gardner Minshew or Billy Ray Cyrus, whichever one he is, losing him, having Desmond Ridder, who's not a good quarterback at all, who's been with the team for I think maybe not even a month now, has not played any meaningful snaps. This team is terrible. The Raiders have given up over 30 points 5 times this season and have given up at least 27 an additional 3. This defense is ass. The Raiders are ass. The Chiefs are pissed off. They're getting all their guys back. They're at home. They know this is a big game, even if it isn't a big game. I am predicting that Patrick Mahomes throws 4 touchdowns in this game, and the Chiefs win this game 34-17. Mark that.
Yeah, man, Lance is on a tear. Who needs a guest when we got Lance Twidwell?
I mean, that's I like that. I like that.
I like it. I hope it happens. I just think you haven't been watching this team enough or something, because the Bills, after the Bills game, you think that loss, they're pissed off. They just gave up their chance to almost secure the 1 seed. They're going to crush the Panthers, who just want to get to Cancun and just want to get out of here. No, it's one of the closer wins that the Chiefs have had in a season full of close wins. And yes, they looked dejected after that. And you'd think, oh, well, they're going to come out blazing and just destroy the Raiders. It was a Black Christmas for Chiefs last year. It's going to be a Black Friday, whether they like it or not, for the Raiders. No, not so fast. The Chiefs, Chris Jones has already said it, like, I don't like games on Friday. I want them on Sunday. I don't really want to play.
You're right.
Can we just get out of here? I'm just going to stand up again and not rush the quarterback. Just get me a nice 29-23 victory and get me out of here. So you're going to see a lot of Matthew Wright. If you didn't know who he was before Black Friday, you sure as hell are going to know who he is after Black Friday. Only 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs. The rest are field goals all the way to 29 points. And the Raiders give us all that we can handle. Aiden O'Connell has a little bit of rust, but he makes a late push to make this a close game, but the Chiefs win 29-23 and another ho-hum, boring Black Friday.
Hey, that was the same score as at Oakland in like November of 1995. We won 29-23 at
Raiders
Oakland.
Win by 6 on Black Christmas. Hey. Chiefs win by 6 this time on Black Friday.
Vince Evans was the quarterback for the Raiders that day in 1995, and this is about we'll be seeing a Vince Evans like quarterback for the Raiders on Sunday.
Those don't exist. Those aren't real. So
never done it. Never. It couldn't be him.
You can pick anyone else you want to pick.
Show. We got. It was a great show tonight. Clint was kicking ass and Noah was on it. And I tell you what, Lance was on a roll tonight, buddy. This was the Lance Twidwell show. So when you're getting ready for Thanksgiving, just think of what Lance brought tonight. So we'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Tune into the Shaggy Shane Harvey Williams show right here on Starcade after the game on Friday for the post game. And then Saturday morning, we have another post game with Lance Twidwell on Starcade. And there'll be so much post game for this Chiefs Raiders game that you will want to have seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths all holiday weekend.
And let's all give a great effort into our Go Chiefs as we close out the show. The same effort the Chiefs defense gives against the Panthers and have been giving all November. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Get the touchdown.